can make sure the live stream gets out there to everybody. Late night show edition, Canes After Dark, the #1 late night Canes show for the people, by the people. So starting up season 2, and we're going to be pumping these live streams out, talking about the Canes, different topics, call-in shows, all that on the NMD TV Canes channel. Before we get talking about the big news, the official addition of Issiah Walker to the roster, to the team, to the Miami Hurricanes. Before we dive into that, I got to show some love to the people that's scrolling at the top of your stream. That is the Patreon squad: David, Derek, Florida Trucker, Gregory, J Love, Kirk, Michelle, Canes Wild, Mike, Maury, You Goldware, and Will. I appreciate you guys being a part of the Patreon squad and definitely support not only the channel, but the vision of where I want to take this show and where I want to take this channel. At the bottom, you will see the scrolling bar. Be the first to support the stream and get your voice heard, and you can be on the super chat. Leaderboard is pretty simple. You can do it via Cash App or the $ next to the chat. Your voice will be heard because it highlights whatever you say so everybody can see it. And then I double down on that by putting you on the super chat leaderboard. Be the first to jump on that. But let's dive right into it. We got some people in the chat. Shout out to everybody who was here first, man. Hey, I gotta pat myself on the back. I said 11:30 and I'm here at 11:30. And just to let you guys know, I do want these shows to be a little bit later on in the day. 10, 11. I did a poll and most people said after 9 would be great. That way we can get all the information during the day and then we can talk about it and you can let your voice be heard at night. Okay, so go ahead, come into the stream, grab you some water. We'll see how long we're going to go tonight. I will be taking calls 1-479-431-6553, and you can call it in. But let's talk about the importance of adding Issiah Walker to this team. Okay, first off, just to let you know, I'm very excited. I'm very excited, and just to break it down how this happened, Issiah Walker, this last class of wide receivers, or not wide receivers, of offensive linemen, was one of the best offensive line crew, the 2020 class that the state of Florida has ever seen. And when we only were able to get Jalen Rivers, a lot of people looked at that as a failure. There was so much talent out there, and they decided to go elsewhere. So for him to end up at Miami is big time. So what ended up happening is Issiah Walker was committed to South Carolina. And then towards the end of his recruitment, he decommitted, and it came down to him wanting to be in the state of Florida, him wanting to stay home. Shout out to my guy, George. George is the first on the Super Chat leaderboard. He says, congratulations, Miami. Hey, George being a Miami fan, giving the kudos to, George being a Florida fan, being in a Miami chat, giving kudos to Miami is big time. So we appreciate that, George, and thank you. So he decides to commit to Florida, and that was a big blow to a lot of people because Miami only ended up really getting Jalen Rivers to the he was only able to get Jalen Rivers out of that class. So that was tough for us. That was very tough for us. We did get Chris Washington. We did get other guys, but Issiah Walker is a guy that Miami wanted from day one, and we didn't close on him. He ended up goes to Florida. But like my motto when it comes to recruitment is nothing is official until you sign on a dotted line. But now with the transfer portal, nothing ain't official until they put on the pads and they line up, and then it still is not official. Shout out to George for being the first one on the Super Chat leaderboard. So he enters the transfer portal before even practicing with the Florida Gators. He enters the transfer portal, and within a day, he decides to come to Miami. Andrew Ivins of 247 was the first person to report this, and there's a lot of reasons I'm excited. The first one is this. This is the first reason I'm excited is because we take him from a rival. Now, we're not playing. It's gonna be a couple years before we play Florida again, unless we beat them in a bowl game. But hey, anytime you can take a kid from Florida or Florida State, I'm excited. Speaking of Florida State did reach out to Isaiah Walker once he was in the portal. They couldn't get it done. He comes to Miami. So that's the first thing that I'm excited about. Second is, if you speak to anybody who evaluates talent in Florida and you talk about this kid on the field, this kid in camps, this kid testing, this kid doing all these different things, then you know how talented this cat is. Jose Santos with the $5 super chat. Jose, I appreciate you jumping on the board here. So it's not that, oh, we're just getting a guy who's rated a 4-star. This kid could have been rated a 3-star. And if you look at what everybody has been saying about this kid, how everybody has raved about this kid, for us to get him is huge. You add him, and it's a position of need. It's a position of need. There's a rumor out there that we could end up getting the quarterback from Alabama, Tua's little brother, Talia Tagovailoa. Is that really a position of need? I would say, honestly, not really. The offensive line is 100% a position of need. So we're getting a player that we take away from a rival and that is talented and that could play. When you look at what 247 says about the kid, let me see if I can find exactly what 247, how they, what they said about him in the camp, just to kind of give you guys out there who want to know what type of player he is. I did want to have his film up, but couldn't get it done. So let's take a look at what 247 says about his evaluation. Okay, possesses adequate height and length with a solid build. Was initially on the lighter side early in his career, but has added substantial mass heading into the senior year. Thicker lower body, which helps in his base of a player. Added more than 40 pounds of solid mass from his sophomore to junior season. And is above average athlete, long along the offensive line, light-footed with the ability to redirect in the pass protection due to his body quickness, benefiting from increased strength gains, has a solid athleticism and core strength combination that allows him to anchor and stop pass rushes at the point of attack. Has the skill set to be an effective pass protector, but needs to develop a little bit on his pass set technique. Though he's more likely to stick to offensive tackle, you can develop into multi-positional offensive lineman given his skill set and size. Projects as a multi-year starter at the Power 5 level, with his upside being an NFL draft pick. With his upside being an NFL draft pick. You know, that's big time. And I'm excited. But I do want to let people know now the pressure is on our coaches. The pressure is on Garen Justice, the new offensive line coach, to develop these kids, because I like to point this out. This isn't the first time that we've gotten a 4-star offensive lineman. This isn't the first time we've got a highly touted offensive line. You know, I point out Donaldson. Donaldson, his first year or so, I thought this kid could end up being a first-round draft pick, possibly. I never like to put those expectations, but he played well. And then he slowly declined due to Miami switching out coaches so much, changing up technique, and not developing. So we got this young core of offensive linemen that I definitely want to take a look at during the stream, but also we've got to get into the developing these offensive linemen. And then of course we know we have Rhett Lashley, and we know that his offense is going to be high octane, fast paced, get the ball out, and that ultimately helps our offensive line getting the ball out quickly. And that's going to definitely help you guys. But I want to be able to, when it's time to run the ball, will we have those dogs? Will we have those techniques to run the ball? Zion Nelson, our whole offensive line last year. You know, most of those guys, underclassmen, they're going to be back. They should improve and become better. So this is a good, and I got to say this. Now, Isaiah Walker, he could transfer. I mean, he could. It's not likely that he's going to transfer again, but he could transfer. But the reason I'm saying this is because I understand people not getting excited about commitments. I see a lot of kids, a lot of people, they say, well, recruiting is still a long way. Commitments don't matter. This is a kid that is officially a Miami Hurricane. His recruitment's over. He is on the team. So that brings me to the next question. Will he be eligible? As of right now, if the season started tomorrow, he will not be eligible to play because the NCAA requires you to sit out one season. Although he never played a down for Florida, although he never even put on a Florida shirt, although he never even went through a practice with Florida, they still considered him on the Florida team, so he has to sit out a season. Two ways around that. One, he could apply for a waiver, but I don't see what the waiver would be. You know, it's not like he was on the West Coast and he moved back to Florida. He transferred from Florida to Miami. So I don't really see him applying for a waiver, and even if he did apply, I wouldn't see him getting it. Now, earlier this offseason, they talked about possibly letting every transfer get this year just to be eligible. So, hey, if you transferred, you're eligible right away. You know, you're eligible right away. Had to get my squig of water. You can say he's eligible right away, but I don't see that happening. So as of right now, as of the 9th, 2020, I would say that he's not going to be able to play next year. So, but you set that up for having him in the long run. You know, he gets to sit out a year and develop. He gets to sit out a year and figure this offense out. I mean, we got to realize that a lot of these kids are coming into this new offense. And it's going to be a shock to them because we're not getting what we normally get. We're not getting the spring practices that we normally get. We only got a couple. We're not getting the summer workouts and things like that because of the pandemic. So maybe him sitting out is a blessing in disguise if that happens. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on his status when things like that comes out. Now, I want to make sure Troy Ortiz he asked a question. Shout out to everybody in the chat, everybody rocking with your boy. If you guys could hit that like button, and shout out to Jose and George, 2 super chats on the leaderboard right now. But he asked a great question. He said, are we still in the running to get the offensive lineman from Houston, Jared Willis, who he's being looked at by several schools, one of them being Miami? We did get De'Aaron King, who's his former teammate. So you're looking at that. And of course, offensive lineman is a position of need. This is what Andrew Ivins said on that. He said, oh man, I can't find it. I thought I had the quote, but that Miami isn't done yet. That Miami still has some portal news or some portal situations to get done. So which would bring to the next question is, I thought we only had one scholarship left. I'll be the first to tell you, I have no idea how these scholarships work because they change it yearly. And when they added the transfer portal, a whole set of new rules got added. So this is my train of thought. This is not 100%, but this is what I'm thinking. If they're saying that we can still go out and get the offensive lineman from Houston, he's a grad transfer. So maybe if Issiah Walker is sitting out a year, we still can give a scholarship to somebody else who's a grad transfer and who will be eligible to play right away. So I think that would be, that's the train of thought there. I 100% do not know. And then that brings us to our next question. See, we're going from one question to another question. You know, how does this affect us in the Talia Tagovailoa sweepstakes? Randy Noel in the chat says we can use a scholarship from 2021 for 2020. Traditionally, you want no more scholarships. That's what 904 Hurricane says. Shout out to the moderator 904 Hurricane, big supporter of the channel. I appreciate you. Yeah, so what are we thinking in the chat about Issiah Walker coming back? Because I will say that there is a part of the fan base, okay? Not me, because I'm happy. I'm excited. We needed offensive linemen. Listen, we need to get young offensive line talent in here, develop them, and that could change a lot. Because listen, let's be frank about this. We know us being in Florida, us being in Miami, we're going to get elite talent around them. We're going to get elite talent. So getting the offensive line, that may be the key, okay? Okay, so see what the chat's saying here. My boy James Julius says, get the lineman from Houston and I'll be happy as hell. Ray says he shouldn't have never left. 904 Hurricane says that would be awesome. Okay. So another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about and get this, okay? So think about this, guys. Now, if you go back and watch any of my videos, before I dive into that, shout out to Michelle Allen. She says, excited for Issiah to come back. Let's go. Yes. Michelle Allen gets her name on the board, on the super chat board with the $4.99. Excited that Issiah Walker's back. Yes. I've been singing it all day. I'm coming home, coming home. Tell the world that I'm coming home. And getting that news this morning was excited. Shout out to Michelle Allen. Shout out to Jose and shout out to George for the super chats today. Getting you guys' name on the super chat board. But yes, another aspect of this that we got to look at is I have been on Manny Diaz's neck, talking about him as a coach. I've been on his neck. But I gotta say this. What he's done to fix the team is flat out amazing. He's addressed every need, in my opinion. In my opinion, he's addressed every need. He's done what he needs to do. There's only one thing left to do, and that's win. So, us during one of our darkest losses, lose it to FIU, lose it to Louisiana Tech. You pull in this class. I mean, let's take a look at this class here. You know, this is a 6-17 who ended up with the 13th ranked class in the nation. When you add Issiah Walker to this class, because that's basically what you're doing, that's giving us a top 10 team. A top 10 team. Think about this. Here are the teams that are ahead of us. Here are the teams that would have been ahead of us. Teams like Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, LSU, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Auburn. We went 6-7 and ended up with the 2020 class that we got, and then the addition of Issiah Walker. That's big time. Chance Williams, Jalen Knight, Don Chaney, Jalen Rivers, Michael Redding, Tyler Van Dyke, and the list goes on. You know, getting Keyshawn Smith, who's only rated as a 3-star, but you talk everybody from the West Coast, and it's crazy. 904 Hurricane says, I wonder if the addition of Issiah Walker moves Miami up in the recruiting class. I don't think they'll officially go back and put him in, but in my guess, it would be a top 10 class because you're adding the 15th best offensive lineman in the 2020 class, and then he's a 4-star. We would definitely move into a top 10 class, number 2 class in the ACC. So we've got to give a shout out to Manny Diaz for what he's done in the offseason. The thing is now, Manny, I know you be listening to my show, bro. We got to win. We got to win and get this thing turned around. We've got to win. And so, if we can win, think about this. If we can win, Manny Diaz, he looks pretty smart. You know, because think about this, okay? The young talent that we already have on a team at the offensive line position. Clark, Zion, Nelson, those guys got through in the fire last year. So they got experience. And that's what Manny said, hey, that's what we got to do. He said, hey, these freshmen, one day they're going to be seniors. And then you look at this 2020 class that we're bringing in, Jalen Rivers, Issiah Walker, Chris Washington, 6'7", about 300 pounds. And that kid, that's going to go back to us saying that we need to develop, because he's a guy that he's a little bit of a project, but if we could develop that kid, he could be good. Chris Washington out of Nashville. And then you mosey on into the 2021 class, which I got to say in the 2021 class, nothing is official until they sign on the dotted line. But we got Baby Seymour, Michael McLaughlin, and then Ryan Rodriguez, who, when you talk about Ryan Rodriguez, people love this kid. People love how physical he can be. People think he can be the anchor for this offensive line. So what I'm putting all this into one little bow, we are set up for success on the offensive line. Now, we got to keep recruiting. We got to keep getting better, but we are set up. Now we got to finish it, okay? All right? We got a 90-yard drive going, but we got to score a touchdown. We got to win, and we got to develop, okay? We got to win, and we got to develop. Let's see what some of the people in the chat are saying. Stunner Boy Kane says, I don't care how easy our schedule looks. We got to take every game serious like it's our national championship. Stunner Boy Kane, I agree with that. In case in point, FIU. We thought FIU was just an easy win. Come to find out, some of the players were partying before the game. Come to find out, some of the players didn't take it serious. I agree with that. And I hope that mentality is what the team is going to embody next year. Every game is serious. Every game is a championship. I'm hoping De'Aaron King coming over can do that. Listen, in my opinion, going into this season, I think you're looking at who's going to step up as a leader. I look at the running back position, Cameron Harris. The way that kid's been working, the way that kid's been talking, the way that he's been moving, I think he's going to be the leader of this offense. And hopefully people can take from what he does, his hard work, and we can come to every game and be that. But that statement is true, Stunner Boy Canes, but it's going to take every player to buy into that. And we're going to need leaders. Last year, I love Shaq. I do. I love Shaq. But one would have to question the leadership if players were going out and partying. I listened to what the old Miami Hurricanes say about self-discipline themselves. Who was the leader that said, who's going to be the leader that said, hey, we got a game tomorrow. What are y'all doing? Now, I know that the leaders can't be these guys' daddy, but hey, it can't be just about getting people in a huddle and yelling at them. It's got to be about when you say something, people are willing to follow. And if our leaders, De'Aaron King, Gregory Rousseau, Nesta Severa, Brevin Jordan, Cameron Harris, if they come to practice every day, this is game day to us. If they come every Saturday, pause. If they come ready to play every Saturday, then the team has no choice but to follow. When looking at our roster, to me, talent in the ACC Coastal has never been a problem. It's been the intangibles. It's been the leadership from the players and from the coaches. People ask, what can Ed Reed do? They say, oh, is Ed Reed going to be a rah-rah guy? Is Ed Reed going to be a cheerleader? I don't know. But I'm hoping Ed Reed, somebody can listen to him. He can tell people, hey, you going out? Okay, you can go out. But when I was a champion, instead of going out, I was watching film. Instead of kicking it, I was doing this. I'm not saying players can't have a life. I'm saying if you ask Cameron Harris, what's your goal next year? He's going to tell you, we want to win a national championship. And if you want to win a national championship, you got to put in that work. Listen, the LSU Tigers last year, from the offseason, those boys was putting out hype videos. Those boys was doing dances before they even played a game. And you know where that confidence came from? Because they worked harder than hard last season. Ask everybody how Joe Burrow became Joe Burrow. They said Joe Burrow, on his first day visiting, he was running 7-on-7s with the team, talking with the players, working out extra. And look what happened. That's why they were so confident, because they knew the extra work they put in. And I'll give you guys one more example. Okay? This is when I knew that that I didn't know if we had leadership or I didn't know how bad we wanted it. And this is when last year, KJ Osborne, he comes into the locker room and he's working on the jugs machine after practice. And that was damn near headline news. That was damn near headline news. It was like, it was a shock. There was a player working out extra after practice. There's a player that's actually working on his craft. It's headline news. I said, damn, if that's headline news, then we gotta be in some type of trouble. If it's out of the ordinary for a player to stay after practice and work extra, what does that say about your program? If people are shocked, if people are making tweets and headlines, KJ Osborne working out after practice, what does that say about your program if that's not normal? So think about that. So, man, that was a good statement, Stunner Boy. I didn't think I was going to take that all the way into that little rant, but I did. Let's see. 35 points a game. I think Pope and Wiggins will lead the wide receiver room. They have to. It's their time. Pope. Listen, man. Listen, man. I listen. Y'all are like my family. You know what I'm saying? When I started this show, I said, I'm going to be 100% and tell you guys my honest opinion. And my honest opinion is, Mark Pope, we have hyped you up year after year after year. We have seen highlight videos of you year after year after you working out. We have brought in different offensive coordinators. Mark Pope, eventually you got to do the work. You know, eventually you gotta get it down. Mark Pope admitted, hey, the playbook, it took me a while to get down the playbook, okay? Last year, I think he started to start trending up, and then he got injured. Mark Pope, this has to be your year. I believe in you. We know what we can do. We've seen you do it at the high school level. Pope, this got to be your year. Otherwise, it's just going to be another Miami Hurricane who we've hyped up that didn't live up to the expectations that we thought. People, listen, man. People think just because Rhett Lashley put up those points at SMU, he's going to automatically do it at Miami. But the thing about it is, it's got to be a combination of both. It's got to be a combination of the scheme, the coaches, and the players buying into the scheme. And I think this is a scheme that players are going to love. But I look at it, I also look at it as we can't blame everything on Dan Enos. You know what I'm saying? So the players got to take accountability too. So now, hey, Mark Pope, D. Wiggins, y'all got y'all a quarterback in De'Aaron King that's going to be able to extend plays. You know, the defense is going to be set up to stop De'Aaron King, which I would assume they're going to try to have all eyes on De'Aaron King, which means man-on-man matchups, which means single coverage, which means D. Wiggins, Mark Pope. I agree with everybody in the chat. This is your year if there's going to be a year. The California wide receiver we got for the 2020 class, Keyshawn Washington. A little diamond in the rough that we stole right before spring practice started. This 2020 class, definitely this 2020 class definitely has potential when you really look at it from top to bottom. Thunderboy Canes says Jeremiah Payne too. Yeah, Jeremiah is a player that I thought Jeremiah could play last year, but they wanted to keep his eligibility, so we only got to see him in a couple games. So we'll see here. So we'll see what Jeremiah. We'll see what Jeremiah does next year. Okay. What we got, guys? We got 48 in the chat, 18 likes. Guys, let's get to 30 likes, man. Let's get to 30 likes so YouTube can push out this video so we can get more Canes family in the chat. Let's get to 30 likes, man. 48 in the chat, 18 likes. Help your boy out. Hit that like channel. George says, if we beat Alabama next year, I'll make a $20 donation. Hey, man. Look, we'll worry about Alabama when Alabama comes. Who do I think is going to be our starting offensive lineman? I would say, just guessing. I mean, I honestly, I don't know. But I can see Jalen Rivers, Isaiah Walker as two pieces. Ryan Rodriguez at center. I can see them possibly moving Clark to guard. And then that fifth spot, I don't know. But that's just me guessing off the top of my head. Yeah, man, I think when you look at our wide receiving core, like I said, wide receivers, that's never going to be a position that we're worried about. But the bottom line is we have guys who every year we prop up and we say they're going to be great. And I think they can be great, but now we got to see it on the field. I mean, let's keep it real here, man. I'm going to keep it real. KJ Osborne came in from Buffalo and took over the wide receiving room. So if KJ Osborne came over from Buffalo, came in here, took over the wide receiving room, what does that say about our wide receivers? KJ was no slouch. But I mean, come on now. Hey. If we beat Bama our age 30 years, Alabama's definitely beatable. I mean, if listen, if you're going to beat Alabama, hey, you get them the first week of the season. That's a start. We'll probably be going up against Bryce Young, who's a hell of a quarterback. You know, who's going to be our quarterback is yet to see, but it'll be our second year in the season. We'll see Bama when we get to Bama. First, we got to handle these ACC coastal teams, because looking at ESPN's FPI, looking at the ESPN FPI, they got teams like Virginia Tech, North Carolina, with a better chances of winning the coastal than Miami. Yes, we can, but the question is will. That's what we got to do. Good look. Oh, my goodness. That's a crazy name. Peter North got that crazy name. Shout out to Peter North, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Go ahead real quick, guys. Throw me some questions in the chat, and I'll answer them, man. Throw some questions in the chat, and I'll answer them real quick. We're going to wrap this up with a quick Q&A. I definitely want to give a shout out to Jose, George, and Michelle getting on the super chat leaderboard. Appreciate you guys. We cannot beat Bama. I think any team's beatable. Any team's beatable. Last year, if I would have told you that Clemson can beat, North Carolina can beat Clemson, you would have said, no, it couldn't happen. They almost beat them. If I would have told you South Carolina can beat Georgia, you would have said it couldn't happen. What happened? South Carolina beat Georgia. I'm not putting my money on it, but it's college football. Week 1, anything can happen. If I would have told you we're not going to beat FIU, you would have said I'm an idiot. And what happened? We got beat by FIU. So it's college football, man. You never know what could happen. I'm not on here saying that we're going to, but who's going to be the 2 starting linebackers besides Zach McCloud? So I would say, depending on how they want to do this, depending on if there's any changes to our defense, we got Zach McCloud, Sam Brooks. I would say Sam Brooks and Zach McCloud. But where is JJ Phillips gonna play? Because I'm seeing JJ. He was a defensive end, but they're saying this guy's looking like a physical freak that could possibly play linebacker. But right now, my guess would be Sam Brooks, Zach McCloud. But we haven't seen what Avery Huff can do, and we still got to remember about the other guys, the other linebackers, Bradley Jennings Jr., guys like that were injured. Does Cam get 1,000 yards this season? This is tough to answer, but I'll say this: does Cam get 1,000 yards? Yes. And I'll tell you why. Listen, if there's one thing that I want people to realize from last season is Miami did not have one player. We did not have one player that scared defensive coordinators. We did not have any players that scared defensive coordinators. None of them. Next year, De'Aaron King is a player that defensive coordinators will have to figure out how to stop. That's a player that they will be afraid of, that they will have to make a different scheme to stop. And when they do that, that's when you can see Cam Harris. You run the zone read, everybody's focused on De'Aaron King. Before you know it, bam, Cam Harris out the backside to the house, So I think because if De'Aaron King is who we think we are, if De'Aaron King is who we think we are, then that's going to help out a lot of the other offensive players. How many games am I attending this year? 0. Because of the pandemic, I will not be traveling. I will not be inside any stadiums. I will not be in a game. I'm redshirting this year. I don't think I'll be making it to any games this year. 35 over or under? I'll say under. I'll say under for King. I think King has he could possibly have over 35 total touchdowns. Passing touchdowns, I'll say under. Scrolling through the chat right here. Let's see what everybody's got to say. Go ahead, shoot some questions my way. Shoot some questions here, Canes After Dark. See here. Thunderboy Kane says they got North Carolina or Virginia for the Coastal. Oh, they got Virginia Tech as the favorite. And then they got North Carolina second with Miami and the rest of the teams at the bottom. Randy Noel says to get to the next level, we can't lose 5-star local players yearly. We can. The thing is, I don't know. If we're talking about losing guys, Michelle Allen with the $2.99. Michelle, thank you so much. Says supporting the grind. Already on the leaderboard. She moves to number 1. Um, I think it's development over stars. I think it's development over stars. But we can't keep letting guys like a Jason Marshall, Terrence Lewis, and I know about they had this issue, they had that issue. Jason was never coming. Ja'Cory goes to Bama. These are guys that we got to keep home. Does Avonte redshirt or earn playing time? So if you look at last year, Banda, they like to rotate the safeties. So you saw Bubba, you saw Amari, you saw Knowles. I think he red shirts. I think he plays 4 games and he red shirts. We're not landing James Williams. Nope. James Williams is probably going to Georgia. Will we land James Williams? I think he ends up at Georgia. Can we steal Brooks from Bama if we go undefeated? That's the thing is, I mean, if you're just looking at logically, you're looking at Miami logically. 6-7, and we ended up with a top 10 class, and that's me including Isaiah Walker. So one would think if we go undefeated, we can flip some guys. So I'm not saying that it's going to be him, but I do think if we go undefeated, if we get back to the level we were when we had Mark Richt, the turnover chain, Miami was on ESPN every day. Things can start to change. I wouldn't put my money on it. I wouldn't say Ja'Cory, but I would say we start going undefeated. We're going to start having some eyes looking our way. But that's easier said than done. Gotta win. That is true. Hey, Martin, that is true. See, a lot of people bring up North Carolina like they're the next best team, and they talk about North Carolina losing close games. Well, Miami lost close games, and that was because of kicking. Martin says, if you look at the fact that we lost 3 to 5 games last year due to a kicker, do you think we can go 11-1 now that we fixed things? The schedule sets up to 11-1. Our schedule last year was tougher than it's going to be this year. If you're looking at the paper now, no one really knows how good these teams are going to be. But I look at our playing Temple, playing Michigan State, versus, us playing Florida last year, a week earlier than normal. I think we win. We should win 10 games. That's my expectations. And I'm not saying that because I love the Miami Hurricanes. I'm saying that because of the talent we brought over from the offseason, but not just any talent, the proven talent. And then also you look at us bringing over you also look at the schedule. It sets up nicely for us. Man, Randy says, is Franklin commit solid? Listen, this is something that I haven't even talked about. There's rumblings. There's just rumblings. Now, I'm no insider. Don't get me twisted. I'm not an insider. But I do hear things. And sometimes when I hear things end up happening. Sometimes it don't. But I will if you're asking me, I wouldn't say Thad was a solid. I would just call him a commit. Okay? I wouldn't put the word solid in front of him. I would just say he's a commit. I'll say that. Woo, over under 20 sacks between Greg and Roche. I'm going to go under. The reason I go under is because Gregory Rousseau, you're not catching anybody off guard this year, buddy. Listen, I love me some Gregory Rousseau, but I can't watch anything related to next year's draft without seeing Gregory Rousseau. I can't see a poll without seeing Gregory Rousseau. So, offensive coordinators will find a way. Now, because of that, that's why you brought over Quincy Roche. So now you got to look at our interior linemen, John Ford, Nesta Severa. Y'all should be ready to eat because a lot of attention will be given to Gregory Rousseau. And then you bring over Quincy Roche, a lot of attention will be given to him. So our interior defensive linemen, y'all boys should be salivating. Nesta Severa should be super excited because somebody definitely should be breaking out. The 2000 why is Thad Franklin shaky? I'm just saying, I'm just hearing rumblings, and I thought it was funny that Randy said something. I haven't made a video on it. I haven't even talked about the Thad Franklin thing. My thing is, as of right now, he's committed, but things could change. Yes, Martin, you are speaking the truth. Gregory Rousseau, although he had a spectacular season last year, he needs to put in a couple pass rushing moves. Last year when I looked at every sack, and I did do a film breakdown on Gregory Rousseau, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in the chat just so you guys can see it if you want to check it out. I did an extensive Gregory Rousseau film breakdown, and this film breakdown took me a very long time, but one thing that I noticed was Gregory Rousseau just straight whipped kids. And by whip, I mean, he was over there throwing kids out. I mean, his first punch is knocking a 300-pound tackle back 5 yards. But the thing was, if you're able to get into his body, he didn't have a counter move. So I think hopefully this offseason, that's something that he's working on, is counter moves and different type of moves like that. I mean, the guy's a physical freak, and he has a high motor. Like, literally, Gregory Rousseau was just an amazing high motor type of player last year to go along with his athletic ability. And now when you add legit pass rushing moves to him, it's going to be crazy. It could be crazy. I'm trying to find this, and I'll post it in here. Let me see here. Gregory Rousseau got a lot of cleanup sacks. I do agree with that, but you also can look at that as effort sacks. To whereas he kept moving. Who's the next commit to come to the U? Ooh, I don't know. I think we may go a couple weeks right now. There hasn't been a lot of guys named that's on a hot recruit right now. When you look at the class, we're sitting pretty at ninth? Ninth in the class, 14 commits. I don't know. I'm hesitant to say because a kid like Elijah Arroyo came out of nowhere to me. Elijah Arroyo is a kid that over the last month just shot up. Not just with Miami, but with different schools like Alabama, Texas A&M. So getting him was big time. George says, my way too early prediction, years away. Florida's going to win by 1 point. Other than Gregory, who is some underclassmen that might leave early? Nessa Zavera, Reverend Jordan. Yeah, I would say one of them two. Long as Miami does not bring in another quarterback, I think N'Kosi Perry is the starting quarterback versus Alabama. My opinion. Oh, yeah, Bubba Bolden. Yeah, I can see Bubba leaving. Randy, this is just my opinion. I don't think we get Demetrius Davis. And see, and Martin, I agree with that. I agree. I think Nesta should stay, but I thought Jonathan Garvin should have stayed. I thought Trajan Bandy should have stayed, but everybody has their reasons for leaving. Okay, all right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this show, guys. Be expecting me to go live very frequently. Okay, be expecting me to go live very frequently. Turn on your post notifications, because YouTube most of the time will not tell you when I go live. I want to give a shout out to the Patreon squad: David, Derek, Florida Trucker, Gregory, J.E. Love, Kurt, Michelle, Canes Wild, Mike Moore, You Go Where and Will. And definitely shout out to the Super Chat leaders, Jose, George, and Michelle. I appreciate you guys. And of course, shout out to everybody in the live stream, kicking it with your boy, Canes After Dark, late night edition. Hey, grinding and shining. Be expecting me to go live more often, and I'll be making posts on the community tab as well to let you guys know when I go live. I'm going to be attempting to get some guests. If you just look back through the channel, you can see I had most sites on the podcast, Evan Sheriff's on the podcast. Hey, man, I appreciate everybody who came and kicked it tonight. 904 Hurricane, Troy, Randy, everybody, man. I appreciate you guys. The biggest news of the night: Isaiah Walker is a Miami Hurricane. I'm out. Peace.